right? Thorazon makes things really cheap. Druid often struggles with doing multiple things in a turn. They usually can't develop the board and remove, or they can't usually gain tempo and address the board. Like it's really difficult. But wait, what?
Well,
is spectator mode on slow-mo?
Whoa, this is the power of spectator mode.
You know, for a second I really thought that, we were lagging or something. But that was pretty cool, man. Slow motion.
Yeah, maybe it's a new feature that was implemented in Black Mountain.
Can you like ×3 it, like speed it up then the play?
Yeah. I mean, there have been a lot of cool new features added into Black Mountain that are outside of the actual game itself. Like, for example, now I see when my friends get 9 arena wins, and then I can spectate their games.
Gotcha. Well, I agree with this curve here.
Whoa.
Wow. This is trippy as hell, Monk.
This is like Matrix level trippy.
Oh my goodness. This is like Hearthstone in HD, right? Where like you just see the movie and you just see like Savjz just dodging the cards, like flinging over the Griffin and just like honking barely. It's
yeah,
crazy.
I would like to see these players roleplay like their cards were like they're in the Matrix basically.
All right. Well, looks like the Innervate did came out. Savjz. Is he on 3 minutes? Is he the one going first? No. Yeah, it is. So he tapped and played the Zombie Chow. Okay.
Now, okay, I actually want to talk a bit about the actual game. Lothar, he had 2 Innervates in his open hand, and I've heard some players say that you actually don't want Innervates as the Druid player against the handlock. It seems counterintuitive, but some players have told me that some very high-level players actually have told me that you actually just want to mulligan them away for more cards like Wild Growth, a Big Game Hunter, Keeper of the Grove, and even cards that let you draw like Ancient of the Lore and Azure Drake.
And the reason being?
The reason being that just like the big Innervate plays actually don't make that much of a difference, and you'd rather want your big swinging cards. Or
somehow the time-space continuum has warped on Savjz's side, and maybe that's why he's so good at Hearthstone, because he sees things in slow motion. He can decide quickly. But, you know, it's too bad that it's happening in this game and not in a game like StarCraft.
Yeah.
Because if that game moved like that in StarCraft, you'd be a literal god, Tasteless.
Tasteless? Oh, I'm tasteless now in this scenario. That's great.
I don't even understand. All right, so Keeper of the Grove to silence his Void Caller is definitely one of the priorities. You just don't want him to gain that tempo, right?
Yeah. Like if like even like a Jiraxis comes out, a 315 is basically impossible for a Druid to deal with.
Yeah, the only way is if your opponent taunts it up and you somehow get Black Knight, and then that's the way you can eliminate it easily. Other than that, you're not doing 15 damage.
Yeah, that being said, like I'm still not sure what kind of Warlock that Savjz is playing. Like it has definitely elements of Demon Lock, but does it have like Giants in it? I'm not sure. I feel like Savjz is the kind of player that definitely wants at least some kind of Giants into his deck, and I know he really respects Strifecrow as a player, so he might just be copying Strifecrow's Demon Lock deck.
Could be, but I guess we'll find out. Let's see. So Savjz really wants to get through this Sludge Belcher. He's got the combination of Savage Roar and Force of Nature.
But at 5 mana, I think all you can do is that swipe. It's not a bad swipe either. I mean, the slime will clean up, and then you could possibly get 6 damage to the face if you really want to not play around the Molten Giants, which, as we can see from Savjz's hand, that'd be a pretty good play, just going for the Dome.
What can he do on 4 mana? He can play 2 Giants.
Whoa.
And taunt them up, and with the 2 remaining mana, I don't know, silence the Shade. I don't know. I guess that is a question worth asking for if you're Lothar.
Yeah, I think what he's considering is that like he doesn't really have an answer if a Molten Giant plus a Taunt Giver comes down.
Well, he does have Savage Roar.
And he does have that really huge Shade, right? So Savjz would basically need the Savage Roar, or sorry, the Molten Giant, the Taunt Giver, plus a Silence.
Well, Silence does come down. And that was something that Lothar was factoring in, just making sure that he didn't evoke the Wrath of Molten Giants.
Yeah, that's fairly fortuitous from Savjz. If Savjz is indeed playing Strife Crow's list, then there's only one owl, so he got it right in time.
2, 4, 10, 11 damage right now. Not enough to kill. He just used an owl, so the chances of him being able to negate the effect of Sylvanas is a lot lower. There's only usually one owl being ran in these demon handlocks anyway.
Yeah, exactly. This is actually pretty difficult right now. Because I feel like Savjz will certainly... Oh, wow, second owl.
No. That's
the... okay,
yeah.
that was the owl.
A delayed instant replay here.
Well, okay, so Savjz will definitely put himself down to below 10 HP.
Wow.
But this tells... this basically tells Lothar that, oh, I don't have Molten Giants in my hand, so he can just afford to go straight to Dome right now.
I actually think that Wild Growth is a great draw.
Yeah, you normally don't think so at 7 mana, but this pretty much enables the combo.
Enables the combo, and he still has room to drop his Harrison Jones, so his turn plays itself as long as his opponent doesn't heal outside that range.
Yeah.
And even... Oh, actually, they use both Innervate, so I was like, even so, you have to be worried about Innervate, but Lothar used both of them already.
Okay, so... Ooh, Savjz will definitely need to draw some kind of heal or taunter. Oh, anti-heal
The heal bot. That,
I would say
that stings.
that would be a huge draw.
Yep. See, Wrath is such a conflicting draw here, because normally you want it to cycle so you can pick something else up, but if you just remove, you're essentially passing your turn.
Exactly, I think... And, like, there's these 2 3/3 minions on the board, and you really want to clear them with a... It's just so perfect, right? The other option Lothar could try is just comboing here, but I think that just gives up your entire win conditioning.
Yeah. Well, that's
Drake's
kind
a
of
good draw.
unfortunate sequencing.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, look at that.
Well, never mind. There we go.
Works out great. And that's the power of cycling, and how it does end up paying off for Lothar, and Savjz, of course, smiling facetiously. Of course, he's not the happiest for Lothar.
So the second Mortal Coil will be used.
Right.
Not sure what we've drawn, though. I mean, he could always just play the Emperor Thorazane. It's just...
Thorazane?
Thorazane. I'm still thinking about StarCraft terms. Thorazane.
Yeah.
There it is.
That makes it so that that way a lot of cards are cheaper, and if he gets any taunts, any giants, it makes it a lot more affordable. Ragnaros comes down. That's the only thing he can do here. I guess Lothar's okay with hitting anything, right?
Yeah.
Face or the Emperor's alright.
Yeah, either option is fine. If he hits Face, he does enable Molten Giants, but I think he still knows that there's probably not going to be Molten Giants.
Alright.
I believe...
Wow.
Could Savjz have played the Mal'Ganis there? Oh, well...
Savjz's point of view looks like it's pretty epic, some of the explosions that's going on. It's like the movie Looper, man, when he keeps like watching things happen again and again.
Yeah, but unfortunately, Savjz will not be able to play this game again. Like, if he could play the game, and then he could go back in time.
Close the loop! You know, Azure Drake's a pretty decent draw, too.
You know, on Team Nilium, yeah.
Nylium.
So, they actually really like Druids that have 2 Azure Drakes just for the cycle, and they also like Druids that have 2 Sludge Belchers to just because they're just better than Druids of the Claw against aggro, and because they have so many 5-drops, they actually cut the Druids of the Claw.
Okay, never mind. I thought that's why it would have been a bigger deal, but he doesn't have enough mana. Okay. Yeah, the cutting the Druid of the Claw is a really interesting concept. In general, like, I really like it when someone can figure out a sustainable way to cut core cards.
Exactly.
Like, you know, Mountain Giants, for example, and Handlock. Isn't that part of what makes Handlock this identity?
Yeah.
But when StrifeCo did that, I was like, wow, that's actually really cool.
I even hesitate to call this deck Handlock anymore because you just have the Twilight Drakes.
It's just demon control, I guess.
Fair enough.
But we just call it Handlock based off the identity that we've come to know. Surely this big game hunter will come down, right? Is he afraid of some big Shadow Flame play?
Oh, it's actually going to be a swipe.
Huh.
So I think with this play, he's saying that there's a possibility. He wants more of a possibility for Rag to hit Dr. Boom, but no, it goes for Face instead.
5 health remaining. Okay, so Savjz has enough mana to play Mal'Ganis for sure. and it's going to be costing 8. We're just trying to do some napkin math here. Almost everything that he's ever drawn outside of Max Ganis has been played already, right? Based off our POV.
Yeah, that looks about correct. Oh, the anti-Keel bot seems to be coming down at this moment.
That's right. Parallel universe.
It's like
No, you know what this is? This is like Interstellar.
Yeah, I was just gonna say
This
that.
is like
I was
Interstellar.
just
I was
gonna
like
say
making
that.
a lot of bad time movie references, but this is absolutely.
You forgot
like
the most obvious one.
I know. Oh, so I guess he got Shadow Flame for 3 mana. That gives him 7 more to develop something else.
Okay, and with the Sun Fury that he also drew in a future turn, and the Defender of Argus.
Ooh,
Wow,
that's nasty.
those are the exactly the cards he
one
needed.
damage off full. Because I mean, Big Game Hunter surely can come down on that. The second Savage Wars is not that useful because the Innervates have been used from the deck.
Yeah, and also he basically needs to draw Emperor Thurzane, Emperor Thurzane in order to activate both these Savage Wars. The problem is, like, the obvious play here is the Big Game Hunter, but we know that Savjz has a Mal'Ganis in his hand, and right after the Big Game Hunter comes down, Lothar won't be able to combine anything else with the Big Game Hunter, so the Mal'Ganis is just going to have free reign. And the Mal'Ganis, because it sits at an awkward 7 health, it's really awkward for Force of Nature to deal with.
Yeah.
So, okay, Lothar is considering just comboing right now. And what that might tell me is that there might be a second Force of Nature in the deck, which a lot of Nillium players do prefer.
Yeah, or, you know, his opponent's at 5 health. It's still really close. It's one of the dangers is that it's, like, if you combo here and try to clear your opponent's board, then he plays Jiraxxus, and he gets really far ahead. But if you use your Big Game Hunter, like you said, he plays Mal'Ganis. So either way, he could be in a very bad spot.
Yeah, he can't afford to play against everything now, and he just has to decide what can I top deck left in my deck, and what can I afford to play around. Like you said, like you can play it around Mal'Ganis or Jiraxxus, but perhaps not both.
All right, well, we do know Mal'Ganis is a possibility here for 8 mana. And surely his... Oh, wow, it's such a weird thing. Like, he has Mal'Ganis hovered and, and doesn't actually play it. That is really weird, man. This is totally a Christopher Nolan moment with Interstellar. All right.
And yeah, there it is.
Lothar's in big trouble, man.
Oh, yeah, there's the second combo.
Goodness.
So is he actually in big trouble? I mean, Savjz has used so many of his taunt givers and his heals. He's used Earth Ring Farseer, Anti-Keel Bot, Mal'Ganis, 1 Sun Fury, 1 Defender of Argus. Does he have anything left?
I don't know. Maybe another heal bot of some kind and a taunt?
Yeah,
because even if he places a taunt with a Molten Giant...
Oh!
You face Jiraxxus!
Urgent Lord of the Burning Legion, and Jiraxxus goes back to 15 health, just exactly the card that Savjz needed again. This is actually really exciting because we can't see Savjz's hand.
Yeah. Oh, the Life Coach Nourish. He's going to need to dig deep eventually, and that gives him some refill potential here. 2 combos used, and that makes Savjz a happy camper.
Yeah, now he's like completely safe from everything. But he's still, though, he's at 9 health, and probably without yet another taunt giver. One thing, though, is that because Lothar might have cut the Druids of the Claw in his deck, Savjz can not have to worry too much about lethal. Well, there's lethal.
Yeah, like there's no real way for Lothar to survive that. Even if he nourished to draw 3 cards, at best he'd pick up Sludge Belcher to be defensive. And if he did that, Hellfire would still
popular. You really didn't want Zoo to go second, because it can just go
double flame imp.
Double flame imp.
Oh, man.
You can't deal with both at the same time.
Or even worse, it's like back when they played Young Priestess and they put like Young Priestess with other stuff. And
Young Priestess with like a Void Walker, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but for this, I don't feel like it's a huge advantage one way or another.
Okay.
I think the biggest deal is Savjz does have that Fire War Axe, and not only does he have 1, he has 2.
I personally like having the coin, just because if they're playing Counterspell, I can usually block it. But other than that, it's pretty negligible. Just because the warrior spells tend to be pretty cheap anyways, so it's not high impact. You can try to execute something with 1 health just so that way you can play something else.
Yeah, and also there's just not a lot of warrior spells. You have the 2 shield blocks, 2 shield slams, and 2 executes. But it's very possible that you actually don't draw into any of your spells in the first few turns.
Whirlwind and Brawl are the only other ones that come to mind. Well, you know, the Fire War Axe is here. Sorcerer's Apprentice normally would like to come down and make things cheaper, but the follow-up play next turn is also pretty weak. So, you know, I wouldn't blame Lothar for just not developing much here. But the problem is then the Warrior controls so much of the board and you're giving initiative away.
Yeah, just that one Fire War Axe, it just changed so much. People talk about that one Fire War Axe changing so much against matchups in like Zoo. But as you can see from this matchup, it actually might be even more impactful because Lothar, he possibly can't even do anything for the next few turns.
Yeah, it's
like
a
Zoo would
wasted
actually
trade.
be able to develop something and just take off those charges. But yeah, Lothar is just like pinging the face.
Especially considering that the Sorcerer's Apprentice is paramount in making really big tempo swings. Even getting like a 1 mana unstable portal is huge because you can. It's like innervating whatever minion comes out.
It's very similar to like a mech warper of the mech mage, right? Because
Yeah,
instead of taking off mana for mechs, it takes off mana for spells.
All right, so this Mirror Entity is just solely to drain whatever that Fiery War Axe is. You know that there's a lot of smaller minions, Armor Smith, even an Acolyte would have very little impact.
Yeah, but unfortunately for Lothar.
Okay, I like that, developing the Fiery War Axe.
Yeah, it's because you probably want to develop the Sludge Belcher next turn, so you can afford to develop that. He gets a little less armor, but yeah, he can still just shield slam this if he really wants to.
No, I actually agree a lot, just because it's like you said, you have to fight for the board and tempo against your opponent here.
Yeah, and I like this play too. Like, it actually turned out maybe slightly worse for Savjz, but just overall, like, depending on what Lothar had in his hand, it overall it could have been better. Like, like overall Savjz, it was a good play, basically.
Okay.
So yet another not so great turn for
Pretty
Lothar.
Yeah, I guess he's starts trying to load up the board a little bit. Flame Can just does 2 damage for 1 mana. Pretty efficient.
But yeah, man, that blasted Fiery War Axe, just chopping down all those minions. It's gonna, like, each War Axe is gonna pretty much go 2 for 1.
Yeah, I guess, well,
maybe not against
Mad
the Mad
Scientist.
Scientist, but yeah.
well, what's important is it keeps the board state clean. So even if you're not necessarily gaining too much of a tempo advantage, the card advantage will be relevant if Mage doesn't have anything else to follow up on, considering how much health you have. Like, these Fireballs, assuming Warrior wasn't gaining so much life through armor up, like, you know, if you're in the low 20s or even the high teens and the Ragnaros comes down, gets a hit, it's still very relevant. I feel like Warrior's in a dominant position here.
Yeah, imagine how different this game would be if neither of those War Axes were drawn. Like, how could Savjz would have dealt with like the all the mini drops, the 1/3, the 3/2s, the 2/2s. But yeah, this Kazan Mystic certainly is going to be very viable. Like, Lothar is definitely expecting a lot of Phase Hunters in this tournament.
Right.
So I think it was a good metagame call. Also, just a lot of mages. Everyone's bringing mages to tournaments as well, even though like it didn't get too many buffs from the new expansion.
That's why I really like Savjz's choice to go Warrior and Warlock for the event, just because you're anti-Kazan Mystic proof.
Yeah.
Or sorry, you're Kazan Mystic proof, not anti-Kazan Mystic proof. And more importantly, it's like it still gives you strength against those classes without sacrificing much.
Yeah, this is, again, very unfortunate from Lothar because he has to play these Sorcerer's Apprentices in order to draw out the Fire War Axes so he can play other cards like Kazan Mystic even.
Lothar needs something to start climbing back because the Warrior's just going to get stronger from this point on.
That's a decent start, but the Lothar trades so favorably anyway. Other than that, yeah, you don't seem to have many other choices. Okay, so he goes with the Kazan Mystic. It's slightly stronger on the board, and I would expect that he pings the Lothar. Yeah, there we go. Just sets up for a good trade with the Kazan.
Yeah, I like putting Gromosh here to pressure, especially getting it out before. Like, basically make this Mad Scientist, put the onus on him to try to get the right secret. If you pop the Mad Scientist and then potentially give the minion of like Gromosh, then you're in an awkward spot.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of newer players when they see Gromosh, they see it on streams. Usually it's only for the burst combo or to finish off an opponent. But and a lot of matchups, this is perfectly fine. Just use it as like kind of a removal and just to put a threat on the board. Whoa,
that's sick. A 5-mana Alakir?
It's unfortunate that Mage doesn't really have anything to buff the Alakir, though. But other than that, I'd say that's a pretty good portal.
That's so funny. Yeah. I'm trying to think about how it fits relative to Warrior. Not terribly effective. Alakir was never really like one of those back-breaking cards for Shaman against Warrior. It's always like, if you happen to combo, it's okay, but mainly it's just a big threat, so that way they have to deal with it.
Normally, the strength of Alakir is, or one of the strengths of minions that have Divine Shield is against Warrior, because Warriors have a hard time popping the Divine Shield. But when you're using Alakir, he's usually going to charge something anyway, so the Divine Shield doesn't matter too much. It's going to be the same effect basically against any other class as Warrior.
Azurdric's pretty good. Just gives him a draw, which is much needed. He definitely wants to ping off that Lothar, though. But at the same time, he doesn't develop anything else on the board. Pilot Shredder is extremely valuable, too.
Lothar might actually not be in too bad a position in this game, simply because of the high-value cards in his hand right now. Versus what Savjz has. Like, these are all extremely low mana cards in comparison.
Well, we'll see. Like, this Acolyte might easily be able to pick up something, too. That unfortunate sequence of draws.
Yeah, so it's fairly obvious right now that this is a kind of like an anti-aggro deck. We see a Whirlwind, we see we don't see too many big legendaries, and we see Harrison Jones.
So I feel like he definitely wants to kill Hunters. And going back over to Lothar's, like you said, he's got some really high-value cards. Dr. Boom comes in.
I mean, take your pick here. This is like basically anything you put down on the board is going to be a huge threat that Savjz will have an insanely difficult time to deal with.
Okay. I personally like having Rag be the last person to come out because the continual shots on big minions is going to be relevant, considering Warrior doesn't play a lot of small minions. So I think I'd rather have Dr. Boom like come out first over Rag.
Oh, this is...
He's going to play smaller minions.
This is actually not a play I was expecting. I was expecting one of the bigger bombs, but I guess what Lothar is trying to do here is soften up the board so Alakir will make a big impact, exactly.
Okay, so he's playing... He's going to try to grind out? He's going to try to grind out the Warrior? Is this what he's doing?
I think it's a very viable option, simply because...
Oh, man, that's going to be so useful. Unless Savjz draws into Armor Smith.
That's true.
Basically, Warrior is just going to be drawing their biggest minions soon.
Yeah. But I think grinding out a Warrior is actually might be okay here, simply because this Warrior seems to be more anti-aggro, whereas you already have your big minions in your hand anyway. Like, if Savjz just misses one of his answers, then he could be in a big trouble.
Ooh.
Oh, that's not what you want.
Yeah,
so
that's going to give Acolyte... Well, even if you were playing Dr. Boom, it gives you a lot of draws, but he's going to play Alakir here. I actually really like the way Lothar set this up. Originally I was like, well, Dr. Boom. It's like, how can you pass up Dr. Boom? But... No, one, he also was at only 18 health, so he'd be taking a lot of pressure. And two, it's set up so that way it's really awkward, and this Alakir can get a lot of value.
Yeah, like you said, the Mirror Entity would be giving Lothar a lot of value too, but
that's a good draw.
Yeah, that is great, but what do you even Acolyte here?
I don't know, do you just brawl? What if Alakir survives? Let the brawl begin, but if the Windlord survives, oh no!
Oh. I guess this Windlord had the text "always wins brawls," right?
Well, that's not fair at all, is it? Or maybe finally it's worth the mana cost. Unstable Portal.
What legendary will Lothar get from this? And
dude, that's interesting.
Good.
Considering that,
I think Lothar is actually hovering over the card to read what it does right now. I don't think most people would know.
I would have liked to see him play Ragnaros in the next turn, Dr. Boom and Anima Golem, because there's a lot of minions on board, so Anima Golem might survive. But I don't blame him at all. This is a test for Big Game Hunter. He wants Ragnaros to be the final blow. Of course, Savjz is going to drop his own Ragnaros, and a couple of good Rag rolls, and Savjz is right back in this game. And he hits Dr. Boom. That's really bad news for Lothar.
Yeah, so Lothar right now, he needs some good rag rolls of himself, and he needs for Savjz to fail.
Mad Scientist was a great draw, too, because that's another potential rag destination.
Yeah, that being said, I feel like there's no more secrets in the deck, though.
Right.
So it's just basically useful as a 2-2 body.
Oh!
And whoa, okay.
All right, Savjz needs Big Game Hunter. Okay. Now he needs Doomsayer off that Pilot Shredder. Really scary stuff. All right, well, Emperor T is really good. It's just a 5/5 body at this point. Do you play Anima Golem at all? I don't see why not.
I guess you're only playing around a second brawl. And if Lothar has been just following Savjz's deck list lately, he'll probably know that. I don't think Savjz will play a second brawl. It's just not his style. So a bunch of minions are on the board right now.
Yeah,
That Emperor Thursday doing a lot of work this turn.
Personally would just go face with everything. I wouldn't blame him feeling like he has to trade, but you have such a dominant position. Make him present the answers. Okay, here's a Pilot Shredder. What comes out? Oh, it makes it cheaper.
Well, we'll have to wait a bit. But what comes out?
Shrinkmeister not going to help. Armor Smith doesn't really do too much here. What an insane board from this mage. I don't think he's still technically dead either, right?
No, I don't believe so.
No. So there's 14, 22 damage. Even if Ragnaros hits the face, it's not guaranteed. Anima Golem doing some serious work. That unstable portal. Absolute madness.
Yeah, this game was kind of all about the unstable portals. Like the Alakir just did so much work. It allowed for Lothar to set up a really good Alakir board as well. And again, the Emperor Thorazane doing some work, reducing this Kirin mage from 3 to 2 mana. Wow. That value.
All right, well, even up the series, that warrior gets taken out by that mage. A very important win for Lothar, as his mage deck is now.
I think games from now on, I really hope that they don't become a game of whoever draws this Emperor Thorazane will just win the game. And it's
a valid concern.
It seemed to really show against his series against Firebat yesterday, which I believe you casted.
It did, where Emperor Thurston just got so much early game tempo. And from that point on, you can never really climb back, because what you start doing is you start just breaking the rules of what you expect on turn, because you don't know what costs what anymore. And more importantly, it's like now Druid can start doing stuff and squeezing in all that mana tempo. Like, they can start wrathing for 0 and swiping for 2 and then playing like Dr. Boom. And it's like, what? How do you do everything?
Yeah, not only that, Druid is the only class that can just like innervate out that Emperor Thursday. So, oh, there we go. There's the Emperor. So, I guess Savjz has a definite advantage in this game.
He does. And definitely not happy to see it.
That being said, both innervates are gone. So, it might be a while before this Emperor Thursday comes out. Mech Warper.
Mech Warper. About average results. Would have been really interesting if he had another Pilot Shredder and then he gets that, plays it for 3 mana. Not really sure how that dynamic works though, because that 5 attack minion has to go.
Yeah.
All right. Wrath. You're not doing anything this turn anyways, so might as well remove it.
Yeah, neither player has really strong turns, so both are just kind of stalling it out until they really have something.
I like that Wrath for 1, by the way. The Zombie Chow is just purely for board control. You're not trying to press damage with it too much.
Yeah. I mean, trading 2 health on your Zombie Chow, it's like, for 1 card, it's essentially kind of like tapping in some circumstances, right?
I agree. Tough turns for Savjz, honestly. Like, he's gotten like ugly scenarios like back to back, but again, I like playing that Keeper of the Grove. And he really just needs to draw into something now, because Lothar will have the bomb pretty soon. Ooh. Swing and a miss. Or is this Lothar?
This is Lothar right now.
Oh, okay, sorry. The Druid has me confused. Lothar. Swing and a miss.
Yeah.
All right, so I've been casting it completely backwards. My bad. So Savjz is the one who's going to drop the 5 mana bomb.
Yeah, that being said, like the great equalizer is always just going to be Sylvanas, and Lothar will have that option next turn. If Lothar plays Sylvanas now, then Savjz probably won't play Emperor Thursday in the next turn, and that's going to be huge. Like if somehow Lothar can force his opponent not to play that just godly 6-drop, then he might still have a chance going into this game.
Actually, yeah, you're right. It's make or break, because if you play the Drake or try to remove it, and your opponent plays the Emperor, then he has combo for 7 mana, and he's going to be like threatening to maybe even win the game in the next 2 turns.
Yeah, I feel like this is really going to be the key turn.
So Sylvanas has to be the play. He does end up making it, and now puts Savjz in quite the awkward spot.
I think probably just going for another Wrath here in order to possibly draw into either a Shade or a Piloted Shredder would probably be correct.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Let's see what it is. Ooh, Druid of the Claw. That's not it. You know, I've seen... Oh, is he going to play the Big Game Hunter? He didn't play it previously. He said opted for the swipe, but I think he knows that Nilium, those players, they really like Dr. Boom and Ragnaros. And if you play the Big Game Hunter now against a Druid who's going to turn 7, that could be just disastrous.
Well, he's going into turn 7 knowing that... Oh, boy. He knows that it's an Ancient of Lore turn, but this should enable the Dr. Boom. For sure. Instant call here from Lothar.
Let's do it, Lothar.
Will he think about it too long?
I think maybe what he's thinking about is that usually when players play like a Big Game Hunter like that on the board, it means that they might have a second Big Game Hunter in their hand. But I think even with that scenario, he's okay with it because he has 2 Big Game Hunters in his hand.
Yeah, still really awkward, but now he can gain that Emperor's mana tempo. Everything will be a little bit cheaper. He'll have a lot of things cost 4 mana, so he can double 4 mana drop on 8.
Yeah,
that seems really reasonable to me.
Yeah. Speaking of like 4 mana drops, I've seen we saw like Savjz, his hand was like really clogged in the last turn because he didn't have a 4 mana drop. And I've seen actually a lot of players, they've been instead of going for like the 5-drop heavy Druid, they've been going for more of the 4-drop heavy Druid. Like players instead of playing double Sludge Belcher, double Azure, double Druid the Claw with a Harrison and a Lothar, they've been more skewing for more aggressive Druids that have both 2 piloted Shredders and 2 Chillwind Yetis, going back to the olden days.
That's really cool, actually. Still gives you a really good, powerful amount of turn 1 innervate plays, and no, I missed the Yeti.
Yeah, he was a cool dude.
Yetis was good times, bro. Force of Nature. So he's got pieces to combo, but Lothar just saw that he couldn't deal with Dr. Boom efficiently. I would not mind him just simply dropping Ragnaros.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't either. I mean, I guess, like, both innervates have been used, so there's no crazy innervate plays. And even combo doesn't really kill you at this moment. And if you really want to, you can even try to clear the board with the Dr. Boom.
I think I'm going to evaluate the Boombots first, though.
Yeah, of course.
So you trade the Boombots in, see what happens. Oh, all right. Not exactly what he wanted. Maybe hit the Emperor for anything. Would have been nice.
I like how like a lot of casts these days are like, at least in every match, there's going to be a turn where it's like, let's trade the Boombots in and see what happens. Yeah.
It is.
Well, we'll count the number of times in today's cast where that actually occurs. Whoa, Giblin Stalker.
That's really interesting. So it's an anti-aggro card that has the same function of Shade that just doesn't grow.
Yeah. Savjz has been playing it a lot in his like kind of light bomb Chinese Druid lately, and he might be seeing like, because he's played that card in a different deck, he might be seeing how great it is in other decks. Yeah, and again, it does really it's really effective against or it's really effective in combination with the Savage War combo.
Yeah, so he clears 2 of the biggest minions that, you know, interestingly enough, needed Big Game Hunter answers, so I guess Savjz is still a little worried about that. But this gives initiative on the board, finally to drop that Ancient of Lore and re-evaluate. And maybe he can pick up the combo pieces. Maybe he can end the game next turn, or threaten to end the game.
Oh, there's the Savage Roar.
And that's really good news for Lothar.
Yeah, that being said, like, Savjz does have the double 5-drop that he can play
Right.
for 4 mana each.
Yeah, Lothar to stop it, stop the spells from being played. Drew the Claw to start taking a little bit more defensive stance. Oh, charge. All right. You know, he's just really trying to capitalize on the fact that his opponent can't play mana.
Yeah, I think he's trying to force his opponent to be on the defensive now because now he's threatening lethal with a combo.
That's really clever. I like it.
Yeah, that being said, like, he's already used 1 combo, so he has to be, like...
Really lucky
Yeah.
to get that second piece of the combo.
And Savjz is also a player that tends to not like using double combo as well.
All right, well, Lothar has to first interpret the meaning of this attack, and then secondly, evaluate what he wants to do off of it. He still has double 5-drop to fill out the mana slots, and just has to do some calculation. I don't think I'd mind him just going for the Azure Drake first, reevaluate, and then drop Sludge Belcher. I think you have to be somewhat concerned because it does line up a pretty easy swipe. Because if you trade into the Druid the Claw, you have 1 health on the Ancient of Lore, and then Azure Drake only has 4 health.
Yeah.
Plus this Lothar tacked to the Sludge Belcher.
Yeah, I think Azure Drake is first is going to be the clear play. I think what Lothar is actually thinking about right now is which minion he actually attacks into with the Ancient of Lore. Does he want to keep his 5/1 Ancient of Lore alive, or does he want to get rid of the Lothar so it trades unfavorably against the Sludge Belcher?
Almost anything he drew would have been inconsequential anyway, so I don't mind playing the Azure Drake second. Dr. Boom.
Dr. Boom, unfortunately, isn't going to do anything. So, because this Ancient of Lore is 6 mana now, he can actually Ancient of Lore into a swipe. And that's
nuts.
He basically has to get that.
Wow.
Or he's...
Oh,
even he gets it,
actually,
he
he still
loses.
dies.
Yeah, exactly. Is there any line of play which...
So,
okay,
if you wild growth first,
No, you Ancient of
into
Lore,
swipe.
and you draw into Innervate. Oh, he doesn't have an Innervate left.
Yeah, so if you wild growth into swipe. Yeah, so you realize that. And then you can play the Druid the Claw while still hero powering. This has to be swipe right here.
Oh,
No.
It's
So that's going to be game.
yeah. Unfortunately he draws Giblin Stalker Senior,
Yeah.
and it's not enough.
The big brother. And, well, you know, Lothar is going to be up 2-1 and survives a double innervate with Emperor T. You know, like most people are like, well, it's game over if you get that. 2 innervates and Emperor Thorzone, but a lot of key factors went into this game. The first, of course, is Savjz missing really important turns of dropping or following up on some of his early plays. And, of course, Lothar being able to present the threats when Savjz already uses Big Game Hunter. So, as a result, as much as Savjz tried to grab early tempo, Lothar was able to stabilize and take the game number 3.
Yeah.
Going up to 2-1. Excellent for his curve. Haunted Creeper, okay, it's something, you know.
Yeah.
Not the most useful. I guess it's annoying against Fiery War Axe.
That's still fine. Like maybe even Haunted Creeper would. I mean, normally you would want a Mad Scientist,
Right.
but I don't think Warrior is generally going to be attacking into your face anyway.
Sure.
So this might even be fine as well. Like Haunted Creeper could possibly even be more annoying. This Snake Trap is possibly going to get a lot of value too.
Right. Considering that if you see Fiery War Axe, and you know, right now he takes 4 damage for it. He has Haunted Creeper. Let's just see how things evaluate, and maybe that Snake Trap ends up being the case where he has to swing at a minion, and he doesn't have that Whirlwind Clear with Death Spite. That's usually one of the biggest drawbacks of Snake Trap against Warrior, that they have so many 1 damage AoE things. And they'll get more revenge, right?
Yeah, normally how I notice Face Hunters win this matchup is when they get these Haunted Creepers up, like double Haunted Creeper, and the Warrior just has no way to deal with it, like those Whirlwinds, like you said. And just keep hitting for like for damage turn after turn.
Wow, Snake Trap and the Knife Juggler combination. I'm liking it. Although this is pretty obvious, right? That it's Snake Trap.
Obvious, but what can you do as Warrior, right?
Well, actually, Savjz has nothing to do on turn 4.
That's quite unfortunate.
That Snake Trap's not only going to do 3 damage from the snakes, but 3 damage from the Knife Juggles too. You know what I do like though is that he doesn't give another bow charge potentially to his opponent.
Yeah, he had to make that tough call right there. Like, this matchup is still favored, but you just have to draw into the cards that make you favored. So, yeah. That's really tough, but here we go.
And he has Antique Heal by. He's got Shield Maiden, lots of ways to gain health. But is that enough to stop the pressure? There's just more damage incoming. Bow Abusive Sergeant, right? You gotta fill out the curve. I guess the alternative is to use one of your other damage spells, but I think Quick Shot is a very realistic possibility to draw a card here because you're gonna be dumping these one-time uses pretty soon.
That being said, I feel like a problem with Quick Shot in Phase Hunter is that normally you want to be just hero powering every single turn to get that damage in. But with Quick Shot, you actually want to be spending all of your mana and not hero powering. So it's like kind of two conflicting lines of thought.
That's a really good point. Like, Quick Shot would be great later stages of the game, but not early. It's so funny. It's a 2-mana card. It's like a late game card. Yeah. Well, Savjz is under a lot of pressure. I guess Lothar was considering the possibility of what his opponent can do on turn 5 with Harrison Jones. Instant call on the Antique Heal bot. If he can pair the Whirlwind with that Armor Smith, some big things could happen. Kill Command and Ironbeak Owl. And Quick Shot in his hand.
I think you can afford to just hero power on this turn. You don't necessarily need the L.
Would you kill Command too?
Yeah. So just.
Would you swing with the bow? Stop any potential taunt?
Yeah, I think this is fine as well.
All right, Savjz could be on his last turns here. Oh, okay. Shield Maiden's been called for. Needs to gain that life. Kills off the guaranteed damage, which makes sense, but doesn't matter. 4, 7, 9 damage right now.
Yeah, just gotta get it all in.
Okay, so Savjz still needs some way to gain life. Like, some kind of whirlwind effect would be amazing.
Oh, that's not it, but he does have the Armor Smith behind it.
Right. But I don't think that'll matter, right? He can just get behind this taunt, and then Ironbeak Owl will push through.
Yeah, I mean, it's great that at least Lothar didn't just use his Ironbeak Owl nothing in order to set up for the Quick Shot.
So he's got a Brawl. Oh, man. So he's got to attack the spiders and then Brawl. But even then he'd still die.
Yeah, just nothing he could do with the combination of cards that Lothar has in his hand could make him survive this turn.
You know, Quick Shot is enough to win. I mean, there's so many things that he can do, but that's going to wrap it up, and Lothar defeats Savjz 3-1. And that's going to mark the second tournament where Savjz gets eliminated in the first round. That is not good for his